natural laws around the world. So when we issue, let's say, a voucher to vouch, I'll make payment to projects to assist people around the world, as well as the United Nations do pretty much the same thing to help preserve life. We actually ensure that the funding goes to the people on the ground, goes to the specific projects and doesn't get corrupted en route. So I am the endorser, the enforcer of the vouchers. Grantor Lamont Durrell Belton is the issuer. He is the owner and holder of the Great Seal. He's also a ceremonial priest. The ceremonial priesthood dates back 15,000 years. They are Aboriginal and Indigenous. So they also abide by natural law and common law. So this is the auspice of the World Marshal Authority to effectuate that law. So I'm going around the world assisting some war-torn nations and nations that have had projects put on standby for years on end, due to investment portfolios failing and due to failures in pretty much everything within the banking institutions. You see the difference between the bank and they promise to pay. It's a debt note. So everything they have is based on debt. We're not issuing debt, we're issuing real money. It's backed.
Oh, okay. And is it a martial law?
No. Okay, so martial law, the actual, I get this asked many times. So with martial law, the actual spelling of the Marshal, World Marshal Authority with a T, is actually the original spelling of marshals. The letter S was introduced in the 18th century, and therefore you have the marshals, like the US Marshals. So we don't get mixed up or confused between the two, even though we do work with the US Marshals and all the lettered agencies, let's say, around the world. So we are a higher entity. We work with writs of memorandum, quo warrantos, and everything else. So we have actually leaned and levied corporate institutions, as the 1930s Geneva Convention, ECC common law, natural law, allowed the world to operate under bankruptcy. So you must understand that this happened before I or the general were born. So since he is lineage Aboriginal and Indigenous in the American Republica, the Great Seal Perseverando still stands. It's never been revoked. It's been revoked and re-invoked. So now, over the last 20 odd years, we have perfected the system of the voucher system. We also are a member of the US Treasury with a sovereign coin. Now, our charter is based in the Federal Reserve Bank in Atlanta. It's all zeros and ones. It's not a bank you can actually walk into. And it's also similar to a quantum financial system or any other system for settlements. So we are the comptroller, or the general is a comptroller, and he's also the comptroller of the US Coast Guard, and he also owns Virginia State. You see, there is a slight misconception with America as we know it. As we know, it's a incorporate, and it's based off the coast of the USA or America. It has its own territory, which is Washington, D.C.
Okay, so how can you assist a continent like ours, considering we've had decade-long problems and have been embroiled with conflicts and uprisings?
Well, obviously your government has sworn an oath to your constitution, which is actually natural law. I did review it this morning. Obviously, I didn't get through all of it. It's quite a lengthy document. But the preamble is "We the people," and this is exactly what we are. We are the people. We are living, breathing entities. So everything else is a manifestation. It's a corporate. It's an entity. So we are actually here to preserve and help life. We're here, we have an infinite credit system where we can assist banks out of debt, you know, and we help the people on the ground. But we also want to encourage people to unite and join with us. We're not taking any intellectual properties. We are not removing any cultures. We are not taking over any territories whatsoever. This is common law. And the common law, if you gift somebody, you don't expect anything in return. So we don't. But if anybody is breaking the terms of common laws, constitutional laws, that deems them for arrest. Now, for every harmful act, as we know, the world is going into a slightly chaotic situation, there is remedy. And we're offering the resolve. This is not working against anybody. It's actually trying to work with them. So you have your government and you have your people. You have we the people, which is master. Government, which is servant. The jure, which we are, is the law. We operate with the United Nations and the UN DRIP, UN CITRAL, and the Sovereign International Justice Courts, Ignita Veritas, ICC, ICJ, The Hague, and obviously the general with his two on-record de jure courts in the American Republic, Aboriginal, Indigenous, Aboriginal Consular Tribunal and the Aboriginal Insular Tribunal, the consular courts. So we have those, and we also have leaned and levied the Secretary of State in Virginia state, not Commonwealth state, which is deemed as fiction.
All right, and one would want to know the difference between the money from the bank and what you issue.
Okay, so as I explained before, banks work on promissory notes. I'm sure you and everything else. So that is a promise to pay. So the question lies is, okay, they've promised to pay. So when are they actually going to pay, and what are they going to pay with? It's an IOU. What we're doing is we're offering a vouch. We're vouching it's a full faith credit debit assurance with insurance as well to appease the banks. This is a debt-free. This is debt-free completely. So we vouch. So we issue credits. So we're not mixing with the debt notes. So we use the terms, let's say Zimbabwe dollars or USD, Great British pounds or euros or any other currency, which is a debt note. So we're actually using the term of those notes so the banks can understand and actually denominate the amounts. So you can use them just the same in credits as you would, let's say, a credit card or anything else. You can go out, you can purchase goods, and you can work within that banking system. So what we do with banks, as they need the capital to credit, we actually donate 20% of the value of the voucher to the bank. Okay, so therefore they do have that capital to credit, and then X amount goes to projects for the project funding, and the rest goes to the World Marshal Authority in that nation to help set up and work with local law enforcement and councillors and governors and governments and everything else to assist to ensure that that money goes to the people and to the projects. There is no recourse on this money. There is no back payment. There is no loan. This is a pure donation to the nation to assist it, the same as you would have a grant. So that's the system that we operate.
Oh, okay. And we understand that non-governmental organizations tend to conflict with present governments of the day politically. How are you going to separate from this?
Well, there's no separation because your government has sworn an oath to your constitution, which is common law land laws and natural laws, looking at your constitution, the preamble, we the people, and the organic constitution. You're already signed up to common laws. So there is no real conflict of interest here, because if your government is trying to withhold or stop a payment going to your people, where your constitution clearly states that you are free, it's in your inalienable right to work, it's your inalienable right to own property, to live, to eat. Okay, if you look at the first 20 pages of your constitution, it clearly states all of this. So there is no argument. We're here to assist. If the government needs help, I will write them a voucher to assist them. If a bank needs assistance, we will write them a voucher to clear the debt. So for example, if I wrote, if you look at any bank's balance sheets, they have X amount in assets and a colossal amount of cash. That's not really balanced. So what we're offering, if a bank comes to me and says, Honorable Lee, we would like to back all the cash we have in our bank, I would happily do that, as long as they stick to the rules. No harm to life, no harm to planets. Okay, so the majority of the world, to all of the world, money talks. So with this voucher system, we can actually assist in those, for people to gain. There is a lot of distension going on in South Africa, as you know. We're assisting those right now. I'm talking to the governors of the reserve banks and everything else. Now, the laws on the voucher itself are obligatory. This is a court order. It's not something to ignore. So we go under the rules of the central banks. We go under the rules of the Federal Reserve and under the UCC rules, which supersede all of them, because they cannot operate without UCC. So in actual fact, it's a perfected system. And the delivery of those funds go through our projects, because there's a lot of projects to do in Zimbabwe. It's actually funding those projects, and it's helping your economy regain traction and to help it build, because you've had a lot of issues with your Zimbabwe dollar. 2008, I think it went up 600 billion%. And, you know, there was no assistance. There was no real assistance there. You have the UN, they're doing what they can. But we're also here, we've created another sovereign IGO, which is Alterations. So everybody can join it. And properties for the nations to share their ideas, their inventions, and everything else, instead of everybody trying to find things on Facebook, Twitter, and everything else. And we have absolute royals who are leading the heads of their kingdoms, their lands, their territories. They are the landowners. So overall, what we would like to do is go with the government and go with the leaders, the sovereign leaders of Zimbabwe, and say, look, if you bonded the whole nation, that is now your money. You cannot inflate real money. You can only inflate debt. And this is why you have this volatility around the world right now.
Oh, okay. In your write-up, isn't your authority going to be having conflicting interests with the United Nations?
We are actually a sovereign IGO to the United Nations. We are the UN DRIP and UN Citral. We're also the court that runs the United Nations International Justice Court, which is the Sovereign International Justice Court we are affiliated with, we work with. So as the United Nations is a political platform that actually has no authority whatsoever, they have to go to Sovereign Justice International Courts for authority to operate. So therefore, we are an entity above the United Nations. So we're a special agency too, let's say, not for or with. Now, there is a lot of fixing to do with the United Nations, as we all know. I mean, if they stuck to their original constitution of their own write-ups, then I think that was one of the most perfect documents ever written when they first were adopted to the world. So we have nothing against the United Nations. I work with a lot of people from the United Nations, ambassadors and everything else.
Oh, okay. And we understand.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Oh, okay. We understand among the projects, so you want to focus on education. Tell us
Yes.
how you going to roll out the program in Zimbabwe?
Well, we want to roll it out as soon as possible. It's your education system, not ours. We don't want to influence your culture in any way, shape, or form. What we'd like to do is for you to go out and educate your own people into whatever curriculums that you have. So it's not going to be influenced by Western cultures or Eastern cultures or anything else. We're not involving ourselves in a global curriculum as such. We want you to retain your cultures. We want you to be who you are and be the best you can be. Because the biggest problem is you have a lot of doctors. Let's take Ghana or Nigeria. They go to the UK, they go to America, they go everywhere. They have all the training, but they don't come back. We want to assist with that training and that methodology because the money isn't there. So we put the money there so the people, those real doctors or those great doctors that are out there can come back and help their nations. There is a lot of patented medical devices. We are all advancing into the future. So we want to bring that technology to you and show you how to use it if you want it. If you don't want it, you don't have to have it. It's entirely up to you. So we're not forcing anything on anyone. All we're doing is trying to assist.
Oh, all right. And may you please give us a brief explanation on what is meant by alterations?
Alterations is to alter the nations for the better. You have an altar in a church. You like to alter things. You want to alter it to something better. So by altering the systems that you have, we have many things that would change the agricultural sectors, your water purification, your power and utilities generation. It's not all everything you see with big tech, big corps and big pharma and everything else. We don't associate ourselves with them. We already have our own patents where people have come to us with their inventions and what they've created. It's out there. There's plenty out there for the world. And we obviously understand that there is not enough sand on the planet to rebuild the world. So we also have other intellectual properties which can be developed by hand or a simple machinery. We're using used tires, using plastics, using everything to clear up the environment. So we're actually creating commodities out of waste, not just liquefying them or trying to crunch them up into something. You can grain the plastics into sand and that can be used as building blocks. We can convert used tires into log formats, which is good for security, good for, house building, earthquake zones, disaster zones, flood barriers, security, everything else. There's 1,001 things you can do with a log.
Oh, okay. And economically, the African bloc has too much debt. How is your authority going to help in alleviating these problems?
There are other things going on in the world which will come to light in the next few weeks to eradicate the debt. I mean, you can go to UN SDG Action 27655, which is to end world debt and poverty. So the voucher system right now is an infinite credit. We can put these out every single day to alleviate the debt. So what we're in effect doing is we're bringing this process forward first, and then there will be another afterwards with backed money. The systems need to be reconfigured to release this. So if you went to the IMF, for example, who called for all nations to come to a summit for them to issue $285 billion to Africa or African nations, it's debt, it's a loan. I wouldn't take it. So what we're offering is that resolution to debt. This is 100% bona fide. You cannot ignore this. So we are actually throwing that out now into various nations, not just Zimbabwe, it's all nations. not just Africa, but also South America, the US as well. You know, and I know that's where it's born, but we're also dealing with issues there, Canada. We'll be looking at the UK and across Europe as well.
Oh, all right. Explain clearly your motto when you say rebellion to tyrants is obedience to God.
Well, that's the motto of the sixth Emperor Tyrannus. Okay, so you can see the perseverando here on my badge, which is on the wall here. I don't know if you can see that. Okay, so the reverse side of that, the rebellion to tyrants is obedience to God, is the where you see the lady, she stood on the Queen's neck. Okay, it's we the people. So if a government or a royal or anybody becomes tyrannical, we the people stand. Okay, so that's where the actual motto comes from. It's from the reverse side of the perseverando. It's not that we're going to go and stamp on people's heads. It's just one of those mottos that we have to use, because tyrannical, or the world, if it becomes tyrannical, then the UCC one has to enact. It is the law. So with that being said, you have to have an enforcement, which is the World Marshal Authority is law enforcement. It is the the international, private, and commercial law enforcement. So you also have the military and you have the legal aspect. It's not that we're going to push out martial law. As you know, as I explained earlier on, it is the oath from 1750 that we use, which spells it that way. So martial law is a government-born thing, which puts everybody in lockdown. And I'm pretty sure you're aware of the lockdown situation around the world. That's nothing to do with us. That is due to the COVID pandemic. So.
Oh, okay. That's fine. I would also like to know how important is your organization to a country like Zimbabwe?
Well, I think we're very highly important to every nation. Everybody is equal on the planet. And there is no discrepancy against who is who. The only thing that we do have conflict of interest is with the rollout of certain things in the world. So it's nothing to do with nations as such or the people as such. We're here to help and assist. You're in a crisis. The whole world is in a crisis. So now somebody has to step up to help resolve. So this is the mechanism that we want to use. We want to help all continents, not just the continent of Africa. And we have the facility to do that. So I'm coming up forward as the head or the global commander of the World Marshal Authority, which is bonded. This is not an organization. This is an authority. We are bonded, and 19073, the Virginia Commonwealth, and also the UCC, the Seminole Priesthood, and the Pacta Sunt Servanda. Now, the Pacta Sunt Servanda was the official global or world peace covenant, the original from 1400. We hold that. And it was dated pre-Romanus Pontifex. And it clearly states on there that there should be no illegal trespass on any nation. However, you can obviously tell by history what happened over the few hundred years after that. So now the Romanus Pontifex has been amended. It gives us the leeway now to put things right for humanity.
Oh, okay. And one would want to know, what incentive do you have to do what you're doing?
Well, I've spent a lot of my time, personal history in Africa. I spent 3 years there with special forces. So I saw the current situation. You're talking about 20 years ago. But the point of the matter is, things to me look a lot worse. And I was invited to head up the World Marshal Authority by the general and a few other world leaders to bring it into effect. So, you know, we're not a force against. However, there are indictments that need to be resolved, and they do need the right people in place to obviously carry out those indictments. Otherwise, everything will run amok. So I'm here to draw balance, to bring everything back to balance. You have good and evil, you have everything else that goes on. I'm not saying that every corporation on the planet is evil. There's a lot of great people working in these corporations, but some of them, they need to be educated on fact of what they're delivering and what harm they may be doing to others. So we're actually here to address that situation. I'm not here to play games. I'm not here to negotiate those that are committing criminal or crimes against humanity. This is non-negotiable. So we actually here to assist we the people, because it's in a dire situation right now. And from what we can see over the last 2 to 3 years, the world needs help, and we're here to help it. That's our job. That's our task.
Oh, okay. And what do you think is the main reason Zimbabwe has had so many issues over the last decade, the past decade?
Well, over the last decade, it's the same as a few other African nations as well. It's all about freedom. It's all about money. It's always about the money. So in actual fact, if you are an oppressor of a nation, or you're oppressing a nation, you'll tend to find you climb that ladder and you'll hit a corporation, which is paying out for that oppression. So that's where we hit. We don't hit government levels. We are above government, and we actually go for those who are instigators or instigating. I mean, it's down to your local authorities, your military, your police, and everything else to keep peace and calm and tranquility in your nation. That's not our task. Our task is to resist you and maybe advise if required. We don't really get involved with the politics of a nation because they've already signed a constitution. If they become unconstitutional, then the UCC laws stand, because any court in the world, if they cannot come to a verdict within a court, they have to refer to UCC codes or UCC rulings. So, and this is when we come in and we can assist. It's remedy. It's in the common law. It's remedy or it's resolve, and we're issuing the resolve. We don't really want to be forced to issue remedy, because that would, you know, that would be a conflict of interest. So we just want to put things straight. We know the histories of many nations, and we know it's been very tough, especially with the floods you've had there and everything else that's gone on over the past few years. But we're not singling out anybody as to what has happened or what they've done. What we're trying to do is trying to resolve the situation at the present moment, not the past. If you keep looking back at the past, you're going to fall over. It's as simple as that. So it's to push things forward and create a momentum around the world, where everybody starts uniting and working together to fix the problems.
Oh, wonderful. And how do you see Zimbabwe in 5 years?
Prosperous, very prosperous. And that's how I would like to see every single nation on the planet. And you know, people living free, and you know, it's you also have to bring in your inalienable rights to work, to earn money, to own a property, to live how you want to live and harm no other. But I see Zimbabwe is a very prosperous nation already. It is. It has the wealth. It has everything it needs. But there's a lot of red tape. We need to cut that red tape, and we need to assist the nation and her people to forward into where they want to be. Infrastructure, medical, health. You know, it's all there. We want to give it for free. You know, we want you to have your healthcare systems. We want you to have your educational systems. We want to see your children grow and prosper. You know, that's the only way forward that I can see us going. Otherwise, we'll just be in lockdown after lockdown after lockdown, or whatever else comes at us as we the people. So we're here at the higher echelons, let's say, to resolve those issues. How we do that, I'm sure, will come to light over the course of the next few months and the next few years.
So how many other countries are you helping?
Well, we're assisting South Africa at the moment. We have about 3 or 4 vouchers there with a few kingdoms. They have major projects that they want to push forward, even though they're in a level 4 lockdown at this moment in time. So we are actually dealing with the Reserve Bank there. I've just issued to Gambia. We've got Ghana, the Prince of the Ashanti, on board with us, and we have many royals, or African royals, on board with us. So we're issuing there. We're dealing with Armenia. We were publicly announced in Armenia about 2 months ago. We have a few projects in the US, a few projects in Canada. So we're actually hitting our targets with issuance of vouchers. We are just front running now for crediting up projects. You see, you bring a project to me, that is the invoice, we credit, and then it's down to the bank to perform. The bank take their share, their capital, so the credit can be issued. It is fully faith, credit, debit assured, with insurance, with a medallion guarantee, and they can instantly credit within 3 days. They have 72 hours to credit that account, and the Marshal or the project manager, who is oathed under us, will also deliver the funds. He will employ people to ensure and put them under oath to ensure that those funds go to where they need to go. It's all invoiced. So it's there, it's creditable, and it can be audited at any time.
Okay. If I may ask, who made up the laws?
Well, the actual common law was born in 700 AD. And it was by the Norwegians, actually, in Northern Europe. And it's spread across the world. It was just, you know, do as you will, harm no other. Because you can imagine back in those days, they were always battling each other, and they didn't know when to stop until somebody was dead. So in the end, it's becoming out of hand. So they introduced the common laws to the world. So they've always had the law of nature. It's from it's even in the Bible. So the law of nature, common law, combined, has spread throughout the world, and it's always been the ruling law from every sovereign, every king, every queen, now, or empire or emperor. We obviously work with the Khalid and Ramesses constitution, which is the first constitution inscribed in silver. It was a peace constitution between Khalid and Ramesses. I know Alexander the Great took over Egypt, and he wrote his own constitution, but it was purely based on that one as well, because he took Asia and he took everywhere else. And then obviously his territories got all broken up after he died. So we work on those. You have the Magna Carta, you have the US Constitution, and you have the constitutions of all nations with the preamble, we the people. So as the people are master, de jure is law. We're just infatuating the law. The government is there as servant to ensure that everything is in place to assist and make sure everybody is okay. And that's about it, really. That's as simple as it should be. Common law is struck in the heart of every single man. Okay, it's common sense. It's logical. It's always been there. It's always been around. It's been there before me. I haven't written any laws, and neither has the general. Neither of us have written any laws. We're just abiding by them. He is the emir of UCC1. He's also the ceremonial priest in lex sui juris, sui generis. So in actual fact, going on to sui juris, This is where jurisdiction comes from. We are juris at law. The jurisdiction is universal. There's nowhere anyone can't go unless they have the transportation. Unless they don't have the transportation anywhere in the universe. There's no law stopping it. It's jurisdiction, it's jurisprudence. So juris at law. So you have state laws, you have federal laws. And you have to also keep in mind that there is no such thing as state diction or fed diction, but there is always jurisdiction. So you have to go from fictional laws or mediums or medias, like medium of exchange or media of exchange. It is fictional. It's a concept. So you also keeping in mind that we have the juris at law, the jurisprudence, the jurisdiction, and the UCC, that is planet Earth and all continents.
Oh, all right. And if I may ask, where does the money come from?
The money is the land instrument of the Commonwealth of Virginia. It's been monetized. There is a southern currency. It's all written on Article 17. Now, the southern currency is in the National Cherokee Bank of Cherokee Nation, for example. We have a basis there. We have we are a member of the U.S. Treasury. We have a sovereign coin in the U.S. Treasury. So all of the precious metals and everything else, I mean, the value of the Virginia Commonwealth is through the roof. This is infinite. So we issue the credit. We've also liened and levied all the UCCs, all of the assets, everything. We've liened the whole lot. So we can actually credit those liens as well. So you have an infinite source of credit, real money. So all the precious metals, all the gold and everything else that's over in Virginia Commonwealth, that's all monetizable. It's all money. So, for example, if we said to a bank, or the bank offered us money for our voucher, i.e. debt money, we'll refuse, we'll decline. I said, if you're going to pay us something, pay us in silver. Cross my palm in silver. Okay? Because this is money. We don't need your money. We don't need that debt, because that's what's causing all of the problems. The bankers know this, and they're trying their best with their trading programs and this, that, and the other, but it's still money. It's paper for paper. There is nothing backing it. So we've come in with a fully backed assurance, a voucher. It's vouched, not promised to pay. We are paying.
Okay, so if you come in, let's say, to Zimbabwe, how quickly could we see an improvement?
Well, it's down to the banks themselves. If we issued to say the Reserve Bank of Zimbabwe or the Central Bank of Zimbabwe, they have 72 hours to credit. Now, because we've appeased banks, many banks, with the medallion guarantee, which was kindly manufactured by JP Morgan to manufacture it for us, we have that stamp on the voucher now, and it's very easy for them to use. So they can take that voucher, put it on their balance sheet, credit the account, and off you go. You can immediately start with your projects. If the government have any problems with approvals or anything else as to the projects or pertaining to the projects, then that needs to be settled. It needs to be administered. But other than that, you can start your project straight away. There's nothing stopping you.
Oh, okay. And lastly, will Zimbabwe get back to living by its constitution?
It should already be living by its constitution. It shouldn't have to go back to it. That document there, I read parts of it earlier on, and it clearly states that is the supreme law of Zimbabwe. That's how you should be living. Now, anybody that's being unconstitutional, that's sworn an oath to that, can be dissolved. And, it's down to we the people, as I keep expressing. We the people is master. The government is servant. The jure. Constitution is law. That is your law. That is upon everybody to uphold and defend Zimbabwe. In the US, you always hear the thing, foreign or domestic. Well, it's the same for Zimbabwe. It's the same for any nation. You are there to assist your nation, your future generations. This is what it's about. It's not about you as a person right now. It's what you do is what's important. And then what's important for your future, your children's future, your grandchildren, and so on. And to bring that nation, because Zimbabwe is a very beautiful country, and you have to preserve it. You have to. Otherwise, what will happen next? That's the question. So that's what we're about.
Oh, okay. Thank you so much, Honorable, for your time. We are really honored to be able to talk to you.
Well, thank you for having me, and pleasure's all mine. Okay.
Yeah. All right.
Okay. Bye.
Bye.